I've known my daughter-in-law since she was 14 years old. She started dating my son when he was 15, and they have stayed together through university, living across the country from one another, and now starting a life together. I'm going to be saying daughter-in-law. However, they are not married. The pregnancy was announced with so much excitement and was planned. I love my daughter-in-law as if she was my own daughter, and I have never once had a cross word to say about her. The baby came at the end of last month. Daughter-in-law and my son had requested months ahead that they don't have guests until the call is made. We all kept our word, and we were summoned to the hospital about 2 hours after the baby was born, and Mom and Dad had had their own time to welcome them to the world. We arrived at the same time as daughter-in-law's parents, and so allowed them to talk to the couple and be introduced to the child. When it was our turn, I fell in love with the child as soon as they were placed in my arms. Daughter-in-law and my son were looking as proud as anything, if a bit tired. I was passing the baby to my husband when daughter-in-law mentioned in a throwaway comment that of course I didn't put any effort into the birth of my children because they were just sucked out of me. So I wouldn't know how she was feeling right now. Here is your background. I have 2 children who are twins. Twins are never the easiest to deliver after the 9 months is over. We had decided months before that on the word of our doctors and for the safety of our babies, that they would be delivered via a cesarean section on a booked date. What actually happened was I went into labor 2 weeks early, and it was discovered that one of the babies, the one expected to be coming out first, was in breach. I was told in no uncertain terms that if I didn't have an emergency C-section, then I could lose both babies. I didn't even give it a second thought. I won't go into too many details, but when you're about to be put under a general anesthetic to save yourself and your babies, it is the scariest feeling in the world, and the most frightened I've ever been. We all pulled through. However, the babies were very, very small. To cut a long story short, they were taken to the NICU. I was bedbound while being told that it will be a tough 24 hours for the babies, and we couldn't start our home journey until a week after being brought in. That is why, when my daughter-in-law told me I put no effort into the birth of my children, that I had to excuse myself, because I was about to burst into tears. Daughter-in-law knows all about the trauma surrounding my children's birth. She asked me about what going through a C-section was like in case there was a problem and she had to go through one. She is not one of these people who posts on social media about how mothers who give birth via a cesarean are not real mothers. So for that to come out of her mouth, I was shocked. When I returned, my son apologized on my daughter-in-law's behalf, saying that she was exhausted and wasn't thinking straight. I accepted this and hoped to move on. Much like with the birth, daughter-in-law and my son had requested time alone with their newborn, and we would be told when we could visit. Again, we kept our word, and we were invited over a week later. I did my best to push what daughter-in-law had said to the back of my mind, and for the most part, we were all having a good day. That was until daughter-in-law started talking about how close she feels to the baby. She paused, and then asked me how close I felt to my children after giving birth. I said that they were a part of me, and so they would always be the closest things to me that I could ever imagine. She looked at me in a way I can only describe as if I had just told her that I had 2 heads. She said that she was not sure how that was possible, as I hadn't experienced childbirth. So, therefore, my children were not really a part of me, and were more like tumors that I had wanted removed. I was once again shocked and hurt. The baby, more by luck than judgment, needed to be put down for its nap, and so we were asked to leave. I have heard nothing from daughter-in-law or my son, and I am not at all expecting an apology from someone who really believes that I don't have any emotion to my children because I had a C-section. I have been trying so hard to just forget what was said and move on, but it hurts. I would have completely accepted the first instance just after the birth, because she was tired and exhausted. But I can't move past the second time in their home. I know the immediate future after giving birth is hard, but daughter-in-law is acting like because I had a C-section, I excused myself from motherhood. I am keeping my distance, as per their initial request, but I am loathing to actually interact with daughter-in-law anymore following her comments. Should I try to reach out at a later, quieter date, to voice how her words made me feel? The snarky side of me suggests to say, well, it was either C-section or let them die, so I chose my babies. On a less snarky note, maybe she had trouble bonding with her baby while it was in utero, and only after the birth was when she bonded, and she doesn't like admitting that. I am making a wild guess here, but I suspect that her birth was distressing for her, and she is jealous of what she sees as a much easier cesarean. Unfortunately, you're not going to get much out of her, for at least the next 6 months or so, due to hormones and exhaustion. Having said that, if she does make a comment like this again, it is perfectly okay for you to say to her, "That's really hurtful to me. I had a very difficult and traumatic birth." If you say this in a hurt tone, rather than an angry one, then she won't really have a leg to stand on. Quiet disappointment is the way to go. Like I said, I suspect that something really traumatic happened to her, and this is her way of processing it. It doesn't mean that she can get away with being unkind to you, though. My boyfriend, Aaron. His friend, John. His friend's wife, Deborah. Hello, I feel bad right now, and I want to know if I should be. My boyfriend, who I will be referring to as Aaron, is mad at something I said, and wants an apology from me. But I don't regret what I said. Me and Aaron, 31 male, have been together for 4 years. He's a sweetheart, and I love him. He has a best friend, 30 male, who I will be referring to as John, who is like a brother to him. Aaron and John have been friends since middle school, and I've went through a lot together, including alcoholism and a C addiction. Aaron is sober of both, but John is still a drinker, but sober from C. John is married to the woman, 34 female, he cheated on his 7-year girlfriend, 27 female, with. From here on, I will be referring to his wife as Deborah. His long-term girlfriend was pregnant with his baby at the time he met Deborah, and him and his girlfriend have a 7-year-old child together. He said that they had a one-night stand and she became pregnant, so he was stuck with her. My John has 4 children with 3 women. One of those women was his now wife Deborah, who he impregnated when his long-term girlfriend was 3 months pregnant. He chose the other woman and married her 2 years later. He pays child support for 2 children. One sadly was conceived when he was 16 and was given up for adoption, and the other one is with Deborah. This never sat right with me, but I want to support my boyfriend who still wanted to be friends with him, so I'm still friendly to him. Aaron said he doesn't like John's life choices and have been telling him not to do the things he does, but John drunkenly does it anyway. Deborah was a coworker of mine that introduced me to Aaron. She cheated on her husband with my John and left the marriage for him. According to her ex, she cheated before and he gave her a chance, then cheated on him again with John. According to her, her husband cheated first, and she cheated in revenge, but fell in love. All of this bothers me, but it's not my life. I overheard John saying he'll never cheat on his wife because he actually loves her. Well, Deborah is a drinker and has been going out more often with her friends to drink while he stayed home with their child. She's been away longer and leaving to drink with her friends more often. John stopped drinking for a while and has been trying to stay sober to encourage his wife to do the same. She continued drinking, and I heard him voicing concern she was cheating on him. One night, a few days ago, John called me in hysterics, asking to talk to Aaron because his phone was dead. I asked him what's wrong, and he sobbed. She cheated on me. I gave the phone to my boyfriend. I heard the conversation because of how loud John was talking. He said he noticed mysterious transactions on their card while she was out, and found a transaction to a hotel. He went to the hotel and sat in the lobby until she walked in hand with another man. He said he punched this guy and shook his wife before leaving. He was sobbing and shouting through the phone. Aaron listened and was quiet through all this. Then he finally said, "You know a cheater cheats, right?" John shouts, "But I've been nothing but faithful to her. I love her with all my heart," he sobs. I left the room because I couldn't feel sorry for him. He has monkey branched in every relationship he's been in. Deborah said it was once and she was drunk and that it meant nothing. Blah blah, trickle truth, blah blah, I love you, blah blah. You all know the cheater lies. John started drinking again and has been sleeping on our couch while Deborah called, texted, emailed him to come back home every day. A few days ago, Aaron was able to convince him to take a shower. Since D-Day, he has done zero self-care. We were talking about the situation, and I said, frankly, I don't really feel sorry for him. Now he knows what it's like to be cheated on. Aaron became aggravated and said, "No one deserves to be cheated on." He said that my reasoning was spiteful. I guess he's right, but I believe people end up sleeping in the bed that they made. John cheated on every girlfriend he's had. I remember him bragging about how many women he has impregnated. Aaron has been upset with me ever since. And I found out he told John what I said. This morning, John looked at me. Then he looked at the floor in shame. I felt like it was because of my statement. Should I apologize to Aaron and John for what I said? Thank you. Big oof. Way too much drama for me. You can't fix it. There's nothing wrong. Good luck. God. Best friend and your boyfriend sound like a pill. Why did he share what you said to his friend? To cause more drama? Sounds like a couple of gossiping hens. Yes, he did deserve it, to be fair, since he did all those things, and together with a toxic person, becoming an endless cycle. And your partner is right. No one deserves to be cheated on. But his best friend continues to do crappy things, resulting in crappy results. So the fool can deal with his crap on his own. To be honest, it's a joke. Yes, I know I'm a scumbag. I'm the equivalent to human feces. I'm an a-hole in every sense of the word. Feel free to call me out in the comments section, but rest assured that I will most likely agree with you. So, I've been with my wife for 12 years now, married for 6. She was and still is the most beautiful and perfect girl I've ever met, which makes my mistake even more heinous. There was nothing ever wrong with our marriage. She was the ideal wife. I was just a massive idiot. It all started at work. I have a pretty high position cause I was working in the family business. There was this intern, who I'll call Claire. She was 19 and stunning, the kind of pretty that flaunts it. It began with her flirting with me for a bit, light touching, laughing at my lame jokes, etc. I was never really one to get this much attention, so I was loving it. It slowly progressed to lunch dates, to texting, till I eventually slept with her during a company outing. I felt disgusting immediately after, and felt nothing but guilt. I drove straight home that night and confessed to my wife. It didn't end in screaming or anything, just her crying and asking me questions, all of which I answered truthfully. She looked broken. She's seen Claire before, during the few times she visits me at work. I didn't beg for her to take me back, but I did take all the blame for it. I told her that if she wanted a divorce, she could have everything. The house, the car, alimony, anything. We don't have kids yet. I also make several times more than she does, but I didn't want her to give up the lifestyle just because of my duck-off. She said that was the last thing she wanted. My wife said she knows it was a one-time thing and that I wouldn't do it again. She asked me if I still loved her, and I said I did, with all my heart, which is true, by the way. Seeing the person you love hurting was definitely not worth the cheap thrill of infidelity. It's been a year since then, and things have been different. I've definitely been trying to make it up to her. I know I really can't. And working on our relationship more. Thing is, so has she. She's been going the extra mile herself. She's always been a loving and loyal wife, but I think she's been a bit extra. She's been cooking more often, visiting me at work for lunch more, been more conscious about her looks, gem, makeup, etc. It feels like we're back in the honeymoon stage with all the attention I've been getting. Almost as if nothing ever happened. She's never brought it up again after that night. I gave her all my passwords and access to everything. I even registered her fingerprint on my phone, but she always said she didn't need it and that she trusts me. A small skeptical part of my brain thought she was trying to get back at me. Hypocritical, but I wouldn't have blamed her. But I knew she didn't have it in her to cheat. How do I know? Her best friend told me. A few months after the cheating, one of her girlfriends had a bachelorette party, and she was supposed to stay overnight. I was surprised to see her back at 10 p.m. I later got a call from her best friend calling me a lucky a-hole, 'cause apparently, my wife left the moment the strippers showed up. She even told me how my wife would never take off her wedding ring when they went out, and every time guys would flirt, my wife would show it to them and cut them off. Her entire friend group hates my guts and brought up the idea of her getting even, but she told them all off and defended me. Best friend ended the call telling me not to duck up again. I know I don't deserve her, and because of that, I've also been going out of my way to treat her the way I promised to treat her, like a queen. She's been talking about having kids recently, and while I was happy, I feel like it's too good to be true. Where's my karma? I still think about what happened and have nightmares about it. Every time I do, she knows what's up, and tells me she's forgiven me and kisses me on the cheek and tells me how much she loves me. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Perhaps the guilt I'm still carrying because of it is my karma. I've been really happy lately, but there's still a small part of me that whispers, you don't deserve her. Am I overthinking this? Is karma just around the corner waiting to attack? Would therapy help? Pro tip. If you value your relationship, don't let other people flirt with you. There's no such thing as harmless flirting. It can and will escalate if you don't cut it off. It's typical for people to say, don't cheat. But I think the better advice would be don't put yourself in the position to cheat in the first place. Learn from my duck up, guys, and don't be like me. Be like my wife. Honestly, it sounds like your wife is hella insecure now. She's been putting in more work into being attractive. She doesn't stay out with her friends even when she should. She does more of the perfect wife things, like cooking and coming to have lunch with you at your work. You know, where you met another girl. Your punishment is having to live with the fact that your wife will never feel like she can be comfortable, vulnerable, or imperfect with you ever again, without you wanting something new and shiny. You did that. Congrats.